Good evening, everyone, and happy Wednesday, and welcome to this week's Ask Leah. Now, I know some of you will be scrolling through Facebook right now, come across me live on your feeds and be thinking, hang on, is it Thursday night already? No, it's not Thursday night. But I am in your feeds tonight because I do have an engagement tomorrow night that means I can't be streaming then. Well, I could, but maybe not the best place to stream from. Tomorrow night, I am thrilled to be going to the launch of the 2009 Gippsland Community Leadership Program. So it's a great opportunity for me to catch up with the fabulous cohort that I did GCLP with in 2017 and to see the new people start their journey on what is a fabulous program. If you are out there watching this and community leadership or leadership in general is something that interests you, I cannot recommend this program more highly. You will learn things that you didn't expect to learn, a lot of self-reflection and self-development in the program, as well as getting to see and learn more about so many great aspects of Gippsland that you may not have known about before. Welcome, Penny. Great to have you with me. Penny always joins when I'm doing my Facebook Lives, and I really appreciate the support. It's been a great day for me today. I got some feedback about my book, which was very exciting. So I will be sharing more about the book next week in my newsletter, but suffice to say, I sent it out to a couple of early readers, some people who have written books themselves, who are top leadership experts and speakers in Australia, and I received a testimonial back from one of them today. I was absolutely thrilled that she agreed to read the book, let alone to receive a glowing endorsement that said some really incredible things. So when you sit in your room at 5 a.m. in the morning, typing away on your laptop, writing a book in the cracks of time that you have, really finishing it was the achievement for me. I am so thrilled that I actually finished this huge project. Now that it's getting great feedback, well, I've got to say it really is the icing on the cake, and I can't wait to be publishing that later next month, so it's not far away at all. I'd love to know who listens to audiobooks out there too. So I'm actually producing 3 formats of Soft is the New Hard. It'll be available in paperback, but also in audiobook and ebook, and the equipment has just arrived today for me to do the audiobook recording. I'll be doing it myself. My husband listens to audiobooks rather than read, although when I told him that it was me narrating, I don't think it had the same appeal, but he will listen to it anyway, which is exciting. Right, welcome Bryce and Michelle as well. I've got a couple of tricky questions tonight, I've got to say. I had a few people contact me over the last couple of weeks with some similar questions, so I'm going to address them tonight. And as always, the advice I give is general in nature. I feel like one of those, radio disclaimers. General in nature, take it if you will, consider it, think about it in regard to your personal circumstance and see if it works for you. Don't take it as do this or do that, because these 2 that I'm speaking about tonight have some big consequences, as in, do I stay in my job or do I leave kind of consequences. So let's tackle the first one. Hi, Jess, welcome to you too. So the first one came in from someone who is having some serious workplace challenges. Their workplace has some issues going on at the moment, some transition, and they're struggling. They're not struggling because they're finding the work difficult. In fact, they, are really good at their job. They are diligent. They are accurate. They really work hard. The issue is that they are feeling like there's some other staff there that undermine them. and that are deliberately setting out to undermine their authority, that are giving other people instructions that counter the one that this person is given. And the really difficult thing about this situation, if this was your colleagues, if you felt like colleagues were undermining you, which this person does, there's certain advice I would give. However, the added degree of difficulty in this situation is not only does this person feel like it's colleagues undermining them, they actually feel like it's senior management as well, including executives. That adds an entirely different degree of difficulty to this one, because in general, my advice would be, if it was only colleagues that this was happening with, my advice would be to have a conversation with them, absolutely. And I appreciate that would be a very difficult conversation, which is why I have that framework for having a difficult conversation that outlines 10 steps in a process so that you can follow that through. Still absolutely takes a whole heap of courage to have the conversation. But if you feel like someone's undermining you, often the best way to handle that is to have quite a direct conversation, a calm conversation, one where you're on top of your emotions, but where you actually say to this person that you feel undermined, and you stick to the facts and you give examples and you let them know that you want it to stop. Okay, you make it about the behavior, not the person, but you also stand quite firm and say that, this is not how you expect to be treated in the workplace and that you need it to stop. So that would be what I'd normally advise. And you know what? I'm not saying don't do that in this case, because you might want to have this conversation with the executive or the management team. It's a tricky one. It really is. And having spoken to this person about it, I'm going to give some general advice, and I'm going to give a few options here, because in a lot of circumstances I would advise that, I would go and have a conversation and with your boss and say, look, this is how I'm feeling. These were the actual actions that made me feel that way. So you're sticking to the facts, you're stripping the emotion out. I would still encourage you to do that and do it calmly. Now, it might be that your boss or your manager has been frazzled and stressed and they're not on top of their game, or they're under pressure and they don't even realize it hasn't been intentional. They don't realize that impact it's been having on your performance, not just your performance, but your mental and physical health. Because when you feel undermined, it's a horrendous feeling. Okay. It often goes along with that passive aggressive communication that you all know I hate so much, that, saying one thing to your face but another behind your back, or a pleasant voice when you're really sticking the knife in, not letting your actions speak rather than your words. So you could have that conversation, absolutely. But the challenge in this situation is this person is feeling so fragile emotionally because this behavior is coming from management, colleagues. It really does sound like quite a toxic environment, quite a bullying environment. The most important thing in this situation is your health and well-being. So it's really easy for me to sit here and say, well, from an objective, impartial position, this is the communications advice I would give. That's all well and good, but this isn't an objective situation for the person dealing with this. Their emotions are all over the place. They feel like they are at absolute breaking point. So they might not be able to have this conversation. I get that. Okay. I know this person is weighing up whether to stay or go in the job. I can't advise either way, but what I can say is perhaps, you know, if you did feel you could have the conversation, you might have that very difficult conversation and then still decide to resign because, you know what, you want to, that line I say a lot, success is being able to walk away knowing you did everything you could. So maybe you do have the conversation about the undermining, and, you know, if the response is anything other than acknowledging it, then maybe you do walk. Now, that's not a decision everyone can make either, because not everyone's in a financial position where they can walk away from a job, okay, if they don't have something to go to. But undermining is having such a huge impact on your health and well-being. Maybe you're not leaving the job, but maybe you're certainly putting your feelers out there and seeing what else is out there. So in the meantime, the other thing you really should be doing, regardless of whether you have the conversation, regardless of whether you decide to leave this place or not, document everything, okay? Document everything. This is fact-based stuff. You're giving instructions. It's being undermined by other people who are giving a counter instruction that's not right. It's not just that they don't agree with you. It's actually not legally right what these other people are saying. Document it all. Make sure, you know, it might never see the light of day. You might never do anything with it, but you want to have the facts. And if you do go and have a conversation, you want to have that to back you up. So in the end, it comes down to you weighing up the pros and cons. Try to find that space away from work to do some serious thinking about where you're at, what you want, what you're able to cope with in the workplace, what you're prepared to put up with, and then make a call. So good luck. Good luck. The second question was on a similar vein, but not to do with undermining or deliberately causing issues for someone in the workplace. This one, I was asked this from two different people, and it was, what do you do? How do you cope when your values are different to those of your new manager or those of your workplace after a transition or change in direction? And welcome to those who have just joined. This is a tricky one. So one of the people who contacted me works as a nurse, and the organisation they work for, obviously being a nurse, this person, their top value, I say obviously, I think nurses are amazing. I'm sure there's one or two rotten eggs out there, but for the most part, nurses are amazing. And this nurse values absolutely her patients and the highest quality care for them. That trumps everything for this person. The challenge is there's a new manager, and that new manager is much more results driven, seeing patients quicker, because we've got to hit a target, we've got to meet our targets and wait times and budgets and all of those unsexy things that senior managers often have to deal with. Now, this nurse is finding it a real challenge because suddenly she's being pressured to speed up the work that she's doing, and she is concerned that it is going to feel like it's compromising patient care. I had the same question, as I said, from someone else, not from the health industry at all, from a corporate who actually works for government, and they have come from a private background, and they are struggling with the different values in a government organisation compared to private from where they've come. So to both of these people, a couple of things. First one, again, you will have heard me say this plenty of times, seek first to understand, then to respond. I know this is very hard. It's easy to say, very hard to do. Because when you feel like there's a values misalignment, it's really easy to get stuck in to your own thoughts and thinking, well, they're wrong because I'm right, because my values are more important, because they're yours. So to you, they do seem more important. If you can manage to pull back for a second, and it's not compromising your values, pull back, and even if you can, have a conversation with your manager or with someone else in the organization, and try to put that empathy hat on where you put yourself in their shoes and see things from their perspective. Try to learn more about why your manager's pushing to see more patients and to meet these budgets. Try to get that understand what's going on for them, because it might actually be that it's not the manager's the middle person. Often is the case. They're getting pressure from above them to meet those targets, or maybe there could even be funding that's up for grabs, and to get increased funding so that you can care for more people, which is your value, you need to hit higher targets. So actually, if you can manage to do that, you're going to be able to care for more people, but you won't know any of this if you just see it as their values are different to yours, their values are wrong, and you don't seek to understand. So absolutely, first point, seek to understand, then to respond. And when you do that, when you're having that conversation with them to try to understand their values, I encourage you to share your values with them. Okay, so explain to them that, the reason you're keen to understand where they're coming from is because your top values are patient care, and you're feeling like there's a bit of discrepancy between the two, and you're trying to find a way to make them work together, because they don't need to be mutually exclusive. And you might find through this sort of open dialogue and conversation that you can reach compromise and middle ground. It might be, it's highly likely that your senior manager, who started off in nursing as well, or whatever position in the health industry, they are 99% sure they would have got into the industry for the same reason as you are, for patient care. And having that conversation, they might be able to say to you, you know what, no, I do value that as well. And I value this for this reason. And you can then get that shared understanding. And you might then walk away going, you know what, we've got different priorities and focus at the moment, different pressures, but actually our values are more aligned than I first thought. If not, if your values are way over here and you value, and this does happen sometimes, you find yourself working in an organization where there's just a values clash. Oftentimes, when I talk values, I'm not just talking the pretty picture on the wall with the values listed on the poster, because I can't tell you how many organizations, and they're great, I'm all for values on the wall, I have mine on the wall, but they only mean something if you actually live them. I've got to say, I have, been into lots of organizations that have the pretty pictures on the wall, and the behavior from the people, particularly senior leaders, is not in line with those values at all. Okay, so if that happens for you, if you find yourself working somewhere where you have a total values misalignment, you cannot sit comfortably with it. You'll know, because you'll be going home, you'll have that anxious feeling in your stomach where, you know what, this just isn't me. This isn't who I am. This doesn't ring true for me and what I believe in. In that case, couple of things. Again, if it's a total misalignment and you hate it and it's quite toxic for you and it's having an impact on you, the question then becomes, do you stay or you go? I get that is a position of privilege to say, do I want to walk away from this job? But again, maybe you're not walking away right now, but maybe you are making that decision of, you know what, this place is totally misaligned with me, so I'm going to start looking for another job. It doesn't mean you have to go in there and resign right now. But the other thing you can do is really reflect on how can you stay true to your values in this situation, because sometimes you can. Sometimes there can be people around you behaving in a poor way. You might have a poor leader or a poor manager. It might not be the whole organization. And it might be that you then get really clear on your values and you stay true to them regardless of what anyone else is doing around you. You take personal responsibility for who you are and how you behave. And oftentimes when we do that, although we will be uncomfortable that other people are not acting in alignment with our values, we can be okay in that storm because we know we're sticking true to ours. It's when we compromise our own values or feel we are being forced to compromise our own values, that those real problems can arise. So again, seek to understand, have the conversation, have your empathy hat on, share your values with them as well. See if you can hit a compromise. Work out how to stay true to your values, even in the storm. And longer term, you might have to consider a different job. It is the reality. Tomorrow, I'm actually running interview skills training for a local group of people. And one of the things I'll be saying to them and reminding them when they go into their interviews is, yes, you are interviewing for a job in the hope that you get the job, but just as important is you interviewing the organisation to see if it's a good fit for you. And the values question and the culture question are two key ones that can help you make that decision, because we spend so much time at work. It's really important if you can find a workplace that is aligned with who you are and what you believe and your values, it will make a much better place to be. All right, folks, thank you for tuning in. I can hear my kids running riot in the background. My darling husband is still working the crazy hours on the fires. So I know a lot of people out there will be thinking, geez, we thought all of the fires had settled down now, and they have, but there is still that remarkable crew of forest fire management folks out there working hard. I've got kids calling mum in the background. So it is time for me to go. Have a great evening, everyone. Tomorrow night, those of you who are watching who will be at the Gippsland Community Leadership Program launch, I look forward to seeing you there. Next week, Ask Leah will be on Wednesday night as well, because I am flying somewhere next Thursday morning, I should say. So I might be able to sneak in a cheeky Ask Leah from somewhere else in the country. Location, you'll find out if I manage to do a live stream or shoot you a photo. Have a great week, everyone. Remember, soft is the new hard, but we can make it easier. It just takes a lot of hard work and persistence. Cheers.